Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Inferno. I'm Andrew Neeram. Always a pleasure to sit alongside Matt Weisker. And Matt, fall sports are in full swing, and it has been a wild week for the Sun Devils.
Yeah, that's right, Andrew. You're from a thriller in the South with football and the volleyball team going on a great run. We have a lot to get into this week, so let's get right to it.
And with so much action happening across Sun Devil sports, it's been hard to keep up with it all. Our Tanner Buck is back in studio with his Sun Devil 6 to break down the best plays of the week.
Thanks, Andrew. I cannot wait to kick off the show with these clips coming in to spark us off into it. Coming in at number 6 is quarterback Sam Levitt rolling out on the play-action fake and zeroing in on a wide receiver Jordan Tyson for a touchdown in the fourth quarter against Mississippi State. At number 5 is a special shout-out to midfielder Tatum Thomason, who scored on a penalty shot fooling opposing goalies in both victories this week for women's soccer, who is currently undefeated. Thomason leads the Sun Devils in goals with 4. Staying on the pitch at number 4 is midfielder Sierra Bergen, stapling the third goal off the rebound in Sparky's 3-1 victory over University of Denver. At number 3 is blocker Ella Lomagora and outside hitter Kyla Presley, standing on ground on defense, not letting anything get past them, helping women's volleyball score the winning point of the second set on its victory over Loyola Marymount. Coming in at number 2 is middle blocker Colby Neal, who sends the ball back at the opposition with such velocity that it ricochets off into the stands for the first point in the fourth set for women's volleyball in its victory over Florida Gulf Coast. Topping it off at number 1 is defender Izzy Monk, who scores off a header by Lucy Vazackerly, scoring and received off of a soaring precise cross corner from utility player Addison Baltadano in their victory over University of Denver. Guys, that's all for this edition of the Sun Devil 6 as I toss it back to Andrew and Matt, back at the desk.
Thank you, Tanner. The number 12 Sun Devils entered what Mississippi State fans refer to as Stark Vegas, following a failed 17-point comeback and a final score of 24-20 in favor of the Bulldogs. ASU is now unranked thanks to a 58-yard receiving touchdown from wide receiver Brendan Thompson with 30 seconds remaining. Our Rome Katie joins us to discuss last Saturday's matchup in Starkville from a defensive standpoint. And Rome, we're seeing an eerily similar pattern compared to last year with these stats from the defensive line. So with that being said, what were your main takeaways from the front four in this game?
Yeah, Matt, the Sun Devils did not put enough pressure on the quarterback and Blake Shapen in this game, and it frankly cost them the win. Yes, they had 3 sacks in each of these first 2 games, but 2 of those sacks came on 2 separate drives to end the first half, where defensive end Clayton Smith got home both times. It's also worth mentioning that the majority of this defense is a carbon copy of last year. If you look at ASU sacks per game last year, it was at 1.7 last season. That number was toward the bottom in all of college football. Even though they had 7 sacks through 2 games last year, there were multiple games where they would have 0 to 2 sacks per game. The same thing is true this year. 6 sacks through the first 2 games, but time will tell if it's deja vu all over again for this defensive line this season.
Of course, and now that you mentioned the lack of pressure from the D-line, we saw last week's outing marred by defensive miscues, very reminiscent of last year's Peach Bowl performance against the Texas Longhorns. What does the secondary need to work on from a coverage standpoint in your eyes?
Yeah, Matt, the secondary needs to work on their communication skills. There were many examples of this against the Bulldogs where they were confused about where the appropriate coverages were on the field. That's in large part due to Mississippi State's no-huddle offense that capitalized on ASU's confusion. It didn't just come from zone coverage, but in man-to-man coverage too. In those situations, the defensive backs could not get in coverage fast enough and use a quick first step to get there, leaving the receivers open for Shapen to easily get the ball to them. This is something that will need to be fixed if the secondary needs to have success this season.
What would you say needs to be adjusted to contain a Texas State team who won an offensive slugfest against UTSA last week?
Yeah, Matt, and let's not forget that the Sun Devils nearly lost against the Bobcats last season on the road at San Marcos if it wasn't for the ASU offense picking up steam in the second half. Former Bobcat quarterback Jordan McLeod threw for 268 yards and 4 touchdowns in that one as well. All of those scores were because of either blown coverages or McLeod having too much time in the pocket to go through his progressions. Even though the Sun Devils are facing a different quarterback this time around in Brad Jackson, he has a very similar playstyle to McLeod, a dual-threat quarterback. If the Maroon and Gold want to win tomorrow, they can't afford to have blown coverages, and they have to shrink the pocket enough so that Jackson can't get out and run. If he does, then it could be another long day at the office for defensive coordinator Brian Ward and this defense.
Absolutely, and time will only tell. Thank you for your thoughts and analysis, Rome.
While the result in Starkville fell short of a comeback, it's time to look ahead with no more cowbells ringing. ASU football takes on the Texas State Bobcats this Saturday, but they won't be traveling to San Marcos. Instead, returning home to the Valley. Our Ian King from Mountain America Stadium has a preview of this week's matchup against Texas State.
Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham and company will look to replicate their sellout home opener from Week 1. ASU's record-breaking crowd covered Mountain America Stadium in gold. However, this Saturday, the Maroon Monsoon will need to be in full effect as the 2-0 Texas State Bobcats come to battle in Tempe.
Almost a year ago to the date, ASU narrowly defeated Texas State 31-28 in its first ever matchup. This time around, the Bobcats aim to even the series with a revamped offense. In their 2 games against Eastern Michigan and UTSA, the trio of quarterback Brad Jackson, wideout Bo Sparks, and running back Lincoln Perry placed the Bobcats at 16th nationally in offensive yards per game. ASU's returning home after a comeback fell short, losing to the Mississippi State Bulldogs 24-20. A go-ahead touchdown with less than a minute remaining set up the Bulldogs to halt a historic comeback for the Sun Devils. Here's what head coach Kenny Dillingham had to say about the final defensive play call in last Saturday's game.
You know, it's 3rd and 8. You would love if you hit home, the game's over because they have no timeouts. You would love to, play that side. In hindsight, I would wish we were in cover 2, and we just played a bracket shell.
While Sparky's offense has yet to put together a complete game, there have been some bright spots. The versatile rushing attack of Raleek Brown, Kyson Brown, Kanye Udo, and even quarterback Sam Levitt have been proving efficient, averaging 226 yards on the ground per game. Through the air, wide receiver Jordan Tyson proves to be Arizona State's top target, averaging nearly 12 yards per reception, totaling 209 on the season. Levitt has seemed to struggle against Mississippi State, with his 2 lowest career passing yardage games coming against them. Last September, he passed for 69 yards against the Bulldogs, while last weekend he collected 82. Levitt completed just 10 passes in both matchups. Dillingham takes fault for the offense's slow start in the air and told reporters that he's looking to open up the playbook for his quarterback more in the weeks to come.
In Tempe, Ian King for Inferno Intel. Back to you guys at the desk.
A Bobcats team that scored 43 points last week awaits ASU on Saturday, but the challenges go beyond just the opposition. It starts with its own roster. Several key Sun Devils are battling injuries that could impact how they play against Texas State. Our Courtney DeWallaby has the latest update on the Maroon and Gold.
Ahead of Saturday's game against Texas State, I have some notable injury updates. Starting off with running back Kyson Brown, he is still banged up due to an ankle injury and is doubtful to play. ASU will have to lean on Raleek Brown and Kanye Udo to run the ball. The two combined for 215 yards on the ground. Last week, wide receiver Jalen Moss is questionable due to a foot injury he suffered against NAU. Quarterback Sam Levitt will need to find continuity in the receiving room. Head coach Kenny Dillingham said this morning on Arizona Sports 98.7 FM that the chances of both Brown and Moss playing are slim. Finally, defensive lineman Justin Watley is expected to make his return against Texas State. His disruptive presence on defense could be a difference maker in Saturday's showdown.
In late 2024, Warner Media, and by extension TNT, announced a 6-year media rights deal in partnership with the Big 12 Conference for men's basketball and for football. ASU football will make its TNT debut Saturday night against Texas State. For more on this new era of Big 12 media coverage, here's Kobe Bronstein.
This is Big 12 football on TNT Sports.
Yeah, that's gonna take some getting used to.
Pac-12 after dark.
Now that's more like it.
It's gonna be an electric year.
Pac-12 after dark. But wait. Pac-12 after dark as we know it is gone. But its identity, the chaos,
we have a knucklehead on the field.
the drama,
Felton's got it in his hands, and the playmaker scores for UCLA!
the late night magic,
The setup, throws it long, has a man, it's up for grabs, caught in the end zone! Arizona has scored!
it's still alive. And now it has a new stage.
Over 100 degrees at kickoff.
13 Big 12 games will air this season on TNT, including this weekend's late-night clash between Arizona State and Texas State. But for years, Big 12 football on Saturday lived under the sun. Noon kickoffs, 3:30 showdowns. But now, Big 12 fans can be introduced to the late-night madness that these former Pac-12 schools perfected. And beyond the X's and O's, who better to bring Twilight football back to life than TNT? A network that thrives on big personalities and unforgettable entertainment that turns late nights into must-see TV. Now enter a fresh lineup ready to put their stamp on college football. Adam Lefkoe, Takeo Spikes, Champ Bailey, and Victor Cruz.
So much cool things here.
Buckle up. It's late. It's loud.
Did he catch that pinned against the defender's back?
It's unpredictable. Chaos made for the spotlight, and drama made for prime time. For Inferno Intel, I'm Kobe Bronstein.
Right today.
ASU men's golf kicked off its 2025-26 season, capturing a team title in Seattle at the Sahali Players Invitational this past weekend. Now here in studio to talk about Sun Devil golf is Mason McKenzie. And how you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me here.
Awesome. And Mason, what were some of the keys to the Sun Devil's success in Seattle?
Yeah, well, ASU had an all-around great performance, but I would say Michael Miaseth was the standout of the weekend. He finished the tournament at 1 under par and birdied the final hole, which ended up clinching a one-stroke win over the number 3 ranked Texas.
Now, of course, Mason, ASU came into this year with a slightly different roster. Last season, they had 2 All-Americans in Preston Summerhays and Jose Le Ballester. But how did their departures affect the team this season?
Yeah, that's a great question. Those guys obviously played a significant role as 2 of the best players in the program's history. Ballester had huge performances for ASU, including a top 5 finish at the 2025 NCAA Championship. He also served as the team's leader in the Sun Devils' win at last year's Sahali Player Championship. And of course, Summerhays, another key player who kept the Sun Devils in the hunt with his great scores. But as we saw this past weekend, the team still has enough talent to be successful. 4 players finished inside the top 20, with Miaseth and FIFA Lepokti both finishing in the top 10. Sure, it's a big loss, no question, but as long as the rest of the team and these guys step up, continue to be consistent, and post these solid numbers, Arizona State should be just fine.
And speaking of that talent, who are some of the new faces that Sun Devils fans should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, Sun Devils have some notable freshman talent coming in this season. One that stands out is Bowen Moss. He just played his first tournament as a Sun Devil and finished in the top 20. He also won the Utah State Amateur Championship in July, so he's definitely a player noteworthy of keeping an eye on as the season moves forward.
Thank you for joining at the desk, Mason. Always a pleasure to have you.
While Sun Devil football isn't making the trip to San Marcos this year, ASU volleyball is, squaring off in the Texas State Invitational. After a nail-biter win last night, the Sun Devils will look to keep their momentum going into their next match. So now, to debut a new segment, let's swerve bend that corner over to Kai Janagabis for the first edition of Kai's Corner.
Thank you, Andrew. The Texas State Invitational is in full swing as the 9th-ranked ASU volleyball team is playing 3 games in Texas. J.J. Van Neal's squad was able to steal a win against Texas State on Thursday in a close 5th-set victory. Now the Sun Devils look to face Incarnate Word University in their next matchup of this Invitational. Incarnate Word will be facing the Sun Devils after starting its season off with a 3-3 record, with its most recent game resulting in a loss to the 19th-ranked team in the country, BYU. Arizona State will be relying heavily on its middle blockers like Colby Neal, who has a 1.65 block per set rate, where she's ranked 10th in the nation. And it's not just Neal putting down the blocks, it's the whole Sun Devil team, as they are ranked 7th in blocks per set. Another important piece of this maroon and gold squad is libero Faith Frame, who leads the Sun Devils with 76 digs and holds a 3.46 dig per set percentage. These 2 players, along with Noemi Glover and company, will look to cap off this weekend in Texas against none other than the Texas Longhorns, who are ranked 2nd in the nation. The Longhorns have started this season out by going undefeated with a 5-0 record, with 4 of those wins coming against ranked opponents, their latest being a 3-2 set victory over the number 4 ranked Louisville Cardinals. Back to you, Matt.
Thank you for that, Kai. In the wake of the new season for the defending Big 12 Conference champions, one player has continued to leave her mark on the court. For a closer look at outside hitter Bailey Miller, here's Tyler Wargo.
Outside hitter Bailey Miller started her college career at West Virginia back in 2022 before transferring to Arizona State. Since then, she has played for the Sun Devils for 2 seasons. During her time at ASU, Miller has put up 186 kills with 57 digs. Miller may have 5 assists counting her years in the maroon and gold, but trusts her offense to make the right plays leading to execution on the court. The senior had 6 kills and 5 blocks, leading to victory against Butler in her debut last season. Even in last year's Territorial Cup facing Arizona, Miller recorded 6 kills along with 10 attempts without any errors. Recently, Miller was on display on the road as she recorded 28 kills, marking her personal best, along with 18 digs at Texas State. Back to you all at the desk.
Thanks, Tyler. In 2024, ASU women's soccer started hot. Through 12 games, they posted a 7-2-3 record, but the flames slowly faded, and they closed the season dropping 5 of its last 6 and fell to number 6 Kansas in the first round of the Big 12 championship. In 2025, the Sun Devils turned over a new leaf. They started 6-0-1, including wins against Pepperdine and Denver. I'm joined here with Johan Lopez as he gives us an update on the Sun Devils. So Johan, what's it feel like covering the only current undefeated ASU team?
Hey, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, honestly, if you would have told me in the summer that an ASU team would be undefeated through the second week of September, I would have probably guessed the Sun Devil football team is once again off to a hot start. Obviously, after last week's loss in Mississippi, it's the women's soccer team that has yet to be beaten through 7 games. And ironically enough, this is the same Arizona State soccer team that has traveled to an SEC school and did not end up on the losing side. So ASU women's soccer, without a doubt, are the hottest team on campus, and that's my Inferno hot take.
So last week, we had fellow footy insider Mahir Sinhasan talk about how he would like to see the Sun Devil offense get going. And boy, did they. This past weekend, they beat Denver 3-1. What did you notice from the match?
Yeah, Andrew, the Sun Devils had an early 1-0 advantage over Denver and stayed like that for roughly 72 minutes. Until the 77th minute mark, the Pioneers broke through and scored the equalizer. Then the ASU offense turned into high gear and responded with 2 goals in the last 15 minutes, both coming from corner kicks and both coming from transfers. Defender Izzy Monk, the Memphis transfer, and midfielder Sierra Bergen from Mississippi State. So you see, Andrew, the Arizona State attack really does have the potential and firepower to light up the scoreboard. And also, I got to give a very big shout out to head coach Graham Winkworth for earning his 250th collegiate victory in his career. This is his 9th season coaching ASU women's soccer, but before that, he coached at both North and South Alabama University. He will look to get his 251st win against UTEP tonight, kickoff 7 p.m., Andrew.
Of course. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to let us know about ASU soccer, Johan, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out.
And that will bring our show to a close. Andrew, we may never know what is in store for any of these programs, but it is always an honor to share the desk with you, my friend.
I couldn't agree more, Matt. But if you want to keep up with everything Arizona State athletics, don't forget to follow us on X and Instagram at Inferno Intel. And check out our website at infernointelmedia.com. For Matt Weisker and our entire crew behind the scenes, I'm Andrew Neerum, and thank you for tuning in to Inside the Inferno.